Hello, and welcome to the Kitty Cat Lane. My name is Lane, and today I'm gonna teach you how to make a likable character. And I don't just mean how to make a visually appealing character. I mean how to make a character that has a good overall design, personality, and story that other people will actually care about. Visuals can play a big role in a character's likability. But if we want to have a design that really stands out and shows off how cool our character is, we have to at least have an idea of where we want to go with the design to fit our story. So we'll come back to this later once we've brainstormed a bit for the story. We want to make a character that people want to learn more about, or cheer for, or relate to, or empathize with, or maybe even a character that people love to hate. I always think those are really fun. Like, this guy is so annoying, can you not? But please don't go. You're really funny. So to do that, we have to know our character's motive or drive for whatever their end goal is in their story. Whether you're writing the story down now or just making it up in your head and storing it up for later, you need to have a basic understanding of good storytelling to create a character with some depth. Now, when I say make a character with depth, that doesn't mean you have to make a super complex 10-page story or backstory for the character before we can move forward with them. It just means you need to give them a reason or driving force that compels them to do whatever you want them to do in your story. Otherwise, it's kind of the equivalent of when you have your mom or dad say, "You need to go do this," and you go, "Why?" And they say, "Because I said so." Give me a reason. It's the same with your story. If you're like, "Yeah, my character is going to go and save the princess." Okay, why? Because I say so? Because it's cool? Okay. So to figure out what your character's driving force is, here are 5 simple questions you should be asking yourself when you're trying to develop a character in their story. Where, who, what, why, and how? Maybe that's a little too simple. Here, let me elaborate. Question number 1. Where are they? Or where does the story take place? In a futuristic city, medieval times, modern day college? This is also a good time to figure out if the story is going to be a more serious one, a dramatic one, or satire. More on that later. Question number 2. Who are they? And not just their name. In fact, we can totally skip over the name for now if you want. We just need to know who they are as a person. Are they good, neutral, or evil? Who are they in relation to the story? The main character? One of the main characters? A side character? Or a rival? Who are they in the eyes of the other characters in the world? Are they seen as a student, a business owner, an adventurer, a scientist? Question 3. What is their goal? Or, what are they trying to achieve or accomplish in the duration of the story that you're trying to tell? Do they want to become a wizard? Or a chef? Or become the most popular person at school? Are they chasing after their dream job? Or searching for a lost loved one? Or maybe they're just trying to find their one true love? Number 4. Why are they trying to reach this goal? What's their motive behind the mission? This is obviously dependent on what their goal is, and you don't have to spill the beans on what your character's motives are right away in your story, but you should still figure it out for yourself so that you can build a better character with a better story. This could tie back to who they are with something as simple as, they made a promise, and they always keep their word, or they were dared to do this, and they're too stubborn to back down now. Or they were given an ultimatum to either do this or do that, and they chose to do this. Or maybe they just want to prove themselves. Or settle the score with a rival once and for all. Or maybe their goal is time sensitive, so their reason is to make it to their goal before it's too late. Number 5. How will they reach their goal? How are they going to overcome the obstacles that they are faced with in order to achieve their goal? Will they ask for help, or try to press on alone? Will they keep going at all costs, even if it sacrifices their relationships with friends and family? Are they going to reach their goal in an honest way, even if it's the hard way? Or will they look for shortcuts and resort to cheating as long as it helps them get to their goal? How will they rationalize their actions? Well, now that I've expanded on these questions, it seems like a lot, especially if you're just now trying to get started on making your character and their story. But don't worry, I have just the thing to help out. And we can take these questions one at a time, or come back to previous questions as needed until we have it all sorted out. Ta-da! Oh, excuse me, wrong picture. Here we go. This is kind of like a Dungeons & Dragons character sheet mixed with a personality test. It's going to help us give us a visual guide on figuring out our character's personality, and help us quickly think through how our character might act or react in certain situations while staying true to the character. Feel free to screenshot it or make your own version if you'd like. And if you'd prefer a more precise number scale instead of the sliders, you can always use a 5, 10, or 100 point system. Whatever makes it easier for you to understand. So, I whipped up a character with a quick and simple story to use as an example for how we can use this sheet. So, starting from the top and working our way down, we have the character's name. I named him Max, and he uses he/him pronouns. Next we have the story genre or tone. Since I wanted to make this story a simple and easy to follow example, I decided I'd do a slice of life comedy. So it's basically a satire of a regular person's regular life, hammed up for the sake of telling a story, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. Right below this, I have a relation to MC. MC meaning main character. So who is this character in relation to the main character or characters? You could be answering this along with the 5 big questions to the left, but I know that this is going to be the main character, so I can go ahead and write that down. Otherwise, you could put MC's mom, rival, love interest, etc. It's just an addition to who and why they are important to the story. So now let's look at the big questions. And when answering them, you don't have to be super precise just yet. We are just getting a general idea planned out, and as we think things through, we might go back and fill the blanks to build up on the character based off of the ideas we are pulling together. So, where is our story taking place? For me, I want this story to take place in the early 2000s to modern day, and it's going to be in a city. Just a normal city. Who is Max? He's your average high school graduate. He's in his early 20s maybe? What's his goal? To get a job. Why is that his goal? Because his parents said if he wanted to keep living under their roof, he was going to have to get a job or go to college. So, he chose job. Okay. Well, how will he get a job? He's gonna start applying at a bunch of stores until he gets hired at one. Cool. There's a start. What could some of his flaws be? I want to pick some stuff that could affect his ability to reach his goal for an extra oomph. Maybe he's bad at math, and maybe he's afraid of heights. Okay, that works. Additional info, let's throw in some fun facts. He has a pet gecko named Peanut, and he collects shoes. Hey, maybe he can apply at every shoe store instead of every single store. He likes shoes, so he wants to work at a place where he might get some employee discounts. Nice. Alright, it's time to hone in on his personality. Let's see if we can make some more connections to our other answers. Alright, for our first slider, maybe he's pretty introverted. And that's part of why he's not gotten a job yet. He kinda has some social anxiety, he'd rather stay at home and not interact with people unless he has to. Okay. And maybe he's just a little on the selfish side. So when his parents give him this ultimatum, instead of being understanding, he questions why. He already does chores around the house, isn't that enough? So if he's been doing chores, maybe he has a little experience or wisdom in doing work, but not really outside of his home. So he's still pretty inexperienced. I'd say he's probably pretty impulsive. If he's told that he has to get a job and the first thing that comes to his mind is, I'll work at a shoe store so I can get discounts. instead of considering the other factors of the job, like how it's a retail job, so he's going to have to do a lot of talking with a lot of people to try and convince them to buy stuff. Plus, he's going to have to use a cash register and be good enough at math to keep his job. Yeah, that checks out. Pretty impulsive. Alright, well, is he more on the emotional side or more apathetic? He could just be right in the middle. I mean, he's human after all. But maybe if he kind of got an attitude with his parents, he's a little more on the emotional side. Maybe not quite to the extreme, like he didn't, go into rage and try to fight him or anything. He just kind of had an attitude. Okay, yeah. But he's probably pretty optimistic. Even though he has little to no experience, he's still going to try to apply to all of these places because at least one of them will give him a chance, right? They have to. For this last one, I know impulsive and energetic often go hand in hand, but I think he's probably actually more on the relaxed side, more laid back. Like, he might be quick to make up his mind, but he isn't in a hurry to put his plan into action. He's already waited until his parents are making him do something before looking for a job, and now that he has to get started, can it wait until tomorrow? Sure, he can get started on filling the application out, but by the time he's done, it'll be so late, so what's the rush? Yeah, okay. Now that I kind of know who he is, I'm already getting a better idea of what he might look like. You can really play around with the sliders and personalize your character to have a more realistic and in-depth personality when you can think through the way certain combinations will mesh with each other. Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, like I said, this is just a helpful guide to try and understand your character a little bit more and keep them true to their character. I mean, if your character is supposed to be the good guy, and up until now he has been an angel in the story, acting super selfless, but suddenly you decide that you want to have him steal candy from a baby or something, then either you need to have a clear reason in your story for why this nice guy would do something so mean, like maybe he knew that the candy was actually poisoned, or you might want to consider that the start of his villain arc. I mean, come on. What good guy steals candy from a baby? You can have a wacky and spontaneous character that is super unpredictable and hard to read if you want. And of course, good people can do bad things, and bad people can do good things. But if you have a character that you've already established as a good and nice guy to your audience, but you have him do something that goes totally against everything that you've been building him up to be for seemingly no reason at all, then you're going to leave your audience confused and frustrated. So just be mindful of how you portray your character and how you are wanting them to be portrayed. Now, your character may grow and change during their journey to reach their goal. And that goal might even be one of the things that change too. So you might start off with a character like this, but end up with a character like this by the end of the journey. It's called a character arc. It usually changes along with the flow of the story arc. It's either a gradual transition that the audience is able to follow along with, or a sudden and clear breaking point that changes the character and pivots the story in a new direction, starting or ending that act in the story. If you choose to go that route, make sure you update and know the new answers to those 5 questions we asked ourselves earlier. Speaking of arcs, here are some simple story archetypes that might help you find a starting point for your character and their story. Next, here's a simple 3-act arc to help plan out your story. Act 1, the setup, or introduction to the main character and the world that they live in. Act 2, the confrontation as the conflict or problem builds up. Act 3, the resolution, where the conflict is resolved and the story winds down as it reaches its conclusion. Don't feel like you have to sweat all the small stuff right now. It's best to just start by roughly blocking out the big moments of the story that progress the character closer to their goal. Once you have that loosely plotted out, you can work one act at a time to slowly fill in the blanks and refine your story. After all, seeing how your character will react to their obstacles and solve their problems is what keeps the story going and helps the audience learn more about the character. It's how we grow attached to them and get invested in seeing them follow through with their goal. We want to see the character succeed. Or, in some cases, fail. After all, if everything is a walk in the park for the character, then there's no tension, and you might start to lose that drive that's pushing them to reach their goal. Then there's no more story to tell, it just ends. So here's my rough story arc plan for Max. Act 1. Intro, get a job, get fired, new plan. Act 2. Get a new job. Make friends with coworkers who help him to work up to becoming a manager. He meets the rival shoe store manager. He then leads his team into breaking record sales that beat the rival. Act 3. He gets offered a promotion to be a district manager and has to pick if he wants to take it or stay at his store with the friends that he made. He declines the promotion and stays as the store manager over his team and friends. For getting into the individual acts, here is a little more detailed plan of the obstacles that Max will need to overcome in the first act of his story. Basically, a more refined version of the roughly planned out story arc. But just for Act 1. One act at a time. Applying for the job. He's an introvert, and he's never applied for a job before, so he has to push himself to step out of his comfort zone. Bonus obstacle, when he gets there to turn in his application, he overhears the person at the counter talking about how they're also applying for the job, and they know that they're a shoo-in for it. The next obstacle, having to do his first interview. Once again, having to step out of his comfort zone and getting asked a bunch of different questions that he really wasn't prepared for. And as a result, he finds out that he didn't get the job, and he has to force himself to press on and keep trying at other places. So basically he has to go back and apply and have the interview again, but this time, since he has a little bit more experience under his belt, he gets the job. Score! Things are looking up. But now he has to be trained on how to do the job. He's never worked a cash register before, and he's bad at math. Plus, his first customer that he has to deal with is a Karen. How is this going to end well for him? The next thing he knows, he's getting fired from the job because he's unable to hold his own in the store. Absolutely soul-crushing. So, now what? Max is home. He sits down on his bed, feeling defeated. He starts to ask himself if this was the right choice. Should he try going to college instead, or should he start all over again applying at other stores? He turns to his pet gecko, Peanut, for advice, while he tries to think things through. What should I do? He watches Peanut climb to the top of her rock and bask in the glow of her heat lamp. Peanut, you're a genius! Peanut blinks in confusion and then bleps. Thanks, Peanut. You're right. I can do this. After talking it out with Peanut, Max steps into the second act with a newly found determination. His goal has now shifted from trying to get a job as a regular retail worker into climbing his way to the top and becoming the big boss over a shoe store business. With Peanut's help, he convinces himself that if he makes it to the top, he can call the shots from a big fancy office without having to work with customers on a daily basis. Plus, he can hire someone else to do the math for him. So his goal went from, I have to get a job or else, to, I want to get this job because ... Max's story follows a common archetype called the hero's journey, where in the first act, the main character is called to action, but rejects or reluctantly has to go forward with it. Then, usually a mentor or someone the main character looks up to will help guide or push them to go forward with the plan, and the main character takes the first step into their journey, opening the door into the second act. So far, that's a pretty good story. And if I can turn a story about a guy trying to get a job into something kind of funny and interesting, I think you can make a pretty cool story showcasing your even cooler ideas. Now, I originally wanted to make this one video, but I'm going to split up the visual character design into another video as a part 2. I want to go more in depth than I have in my past videos about character design, and try to make the ultimate character design video for my channel. So, in part 2, we'll go over how to use shape language, color theory, costume design, and more to help you create the perfect visual design for your character in your story. But if you're watching this before part 2 comes out and you want to start working on your design now, you can check out some of my other videos where I talk about OCs and character designs. They're a little more broad than this part 2 video will be, but they should be able to help get you started. I'd recommend you start with the how to make a reference sheet video, because I feel like I go over a decent bit of stuff in that video that should help you get started, but I also think my video breaking the mold is also a good one too. Anyway, thank you all so very much for taking a walk down the kitty cat lane with me. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and here's the secret kitty of the day. Bye!